hockey finally be ready to live up to its name? Leader Fan Radio Network.
Are you nuts?
And KFAN.com. 2 minutes and 33 seconds past the hour of 3 o'clock Central Standard Time. Welcome back. Bumper to bumper, live, local, on the air. It's the afternoon aardvark between now and 6:30 tonight. My name is Dan Barreiro, former Inkstand Wretch. Newspaper of the Twin Cities buys my ink in 50-gallon barrels. Guardsy is the two-time state high school tennis champion. Have you ever been nominated, by the way, to the Minnesota High School Hall of Fame that Louis just is about to get inducted into?
I doubt it. No.
Why not?
I don't think I've done enough.
Two-time state singles champion?
I don't think so. I think it's a little...
What else do you have to do?
I don't know. Feels like more. I don't know. Maybe I should be.
Has anybody ever tried to place your name in nomination? I don't even know how the process works.
I don't either. I don't either.
Have you ever tried to put your name in the hopper?
No. I guess I'd never even thought of that one.
I don't see any reason why that shouldn't at least be under consideration. That's multiple championships.
That's true. Maybe
I get it. If you have, now I'll agree. If you had 3 or 4, that'd even be better.
Right.
But you couldn't do it as a freshman. You weren't even eligible.
No, I was eligible.
You were? Okay.
Yeah, I was eligible.
Did you come close as a sophomore?
I got third as a sophomore.
You did?
Yeah.
That's
I got third
very
as a
good.
sophomore. Yeah.
So a 3, a 1, and a 1?
Yeah, it's a pretty good run.
It's
not
extremely
bad.
good run. I mean,
maybe I should
it's an individual sport. It's a sport I think you should at least be under.
Maybe I should feel slighted.
Some discussion about it.
Let's start it today. Let's start a dialogue.
Yeah, let's start. I don't want a monologue. I want a dialogue.
Now, if that happens, I'll get to thank you first.
Yeah, getting the ball. Somebody's got to start.
Get the momentum going.
What's the Glenn Mason weekly diatribe regarding an honor not? Well, it's the lineman not up on the at
Greg
your
Esslinger.
stadium. Yeah,
we need a Ring of Honor.
Ring of Honor.
He won the Outland Trophy. It's like the Heisman Trophy for offensive linemen, and you won it at Minnesota, which means you really have to be good because Minnesota never wins awards.
Correct.
You think I've heard that speech a time or two before from Old Mace?
Yeah, on air and off air. Correct.
Yeah, that actually would be funny if I got myself into the High School Hall of Fame before I got the Esslinger Ring of Honor thing started.
Well, he would definitely rip you for it, so you were a lot more invested because it was about you rather than about him. I don't know. There are people via the Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line who might be able to answer how many people are inducted into the Minnesota State High School League Hall of Fame, a la Louis, who just got announced as being in the class of 2026 Tuesday. I think it was a day, and I don't think that was an accident that they announced it the day knew
they're smart.
We have Louis on, so they could get the maximum mileage out of it.
They're very smart.
Yeah, they're extremely smart.
We should, real quick, congratulate Chris Long from Channel 5 because he won some big media award from the High School League today. It was announced. And if you watch a state tournament...
MSHSL Good Guy Award? Is that what he wins?
Could be.
Okay.
He should, but you see him, and he's there, and he listens to the show. He's always texting in nuggets and things like that for us to chew on, which I appreciate. But if you watch a state tournament, you're going to see him because he's always on the desk.
He is. That's true.
And he'll work with like the professor, the guy with the glasses. During hockey, he'll work with the guys during football. He does basketball with with the dignitaries there. Like the dude's just a total stud for like 2 straight months. Mm-hmm. So he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame before me. I love him, but
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, that's a media thing. I mean, and obviously Louis didn't play here. Well, didn't play in high school here, but.
50 years on TV.
Yeah, he's in a different category. I'm just saying, I'm just musing. I'm asking. Maybe people can tell me it's a dumb idea and here's why. But I don't think that's all that crazy. Especially now that I know you finished. I don't know that I remember you telling me you finished third your sophomore year.
We don't brag about
that. That's pretty good. How about doubles? Were you in doubles? Did you participate in doubles?
I lost in the sections in doubles my freshman year. My freshman year.
And then you didn't.
You can only do one.
You can only do one. Okay, there's not an option.
Selfish people,
both.
Once you get to a certain level, you say, we don't need a partner.
That makes sense.
I'm going to do this on my own.
Could this finally be the time, the moment, when the state of hockey lives up to its name? I've said this before. I'll say it again. I know it's not popular in the hockey community, but I don't care. To fully believe in the notion that we are the state of hockey, the professional component of it has to be better than it's been. Has to be a legitimate force at least once every 10 years in the National Hockey League. Don't text me with, but state of hockey is about more than just the pros, Dan.
It's an ethic.
We know that. But you know and I know that if the Wild had a greater hockey tradition, those same people would be saying, and part of the reason we're the state of hockey is we have been a significant and consistent force, not just on the high school level, not just on the college level, but on the professional level as well. I'm not bringing this up to bruise egos or hurt feelings. I'm actually bringing it up as a compliment to the current condition of your Minnesota Wild. Back in action last night, much anticipated return game against the Lanch post-Olympics. And they get it done with a 5-2 victory in which the starting goaltender was so committed that he threw up late in the game. That was after, I think, he made 44 saves for his favorite hockey team, the Minnesota Wild. This team feels different. It lands different. It seems to skate different. We finally feel like we've got some star power to go with the grunts. We now have the second best record in hockey. How many points are we now behind the Lanch after last night? Is it 5 or 3?
I'll pull it up.
They're the only team that has more points than we do.
Mm-hmm.
I believe, in the league. I also think we've had the best record in hockey since Minnesota arrived.
We are 5 points back.
5 points back at this point.
They've got 2 games in hand.
They do have 2. They always do. The Lanch always seem to have 2 games in hand on us. I don't know what.
And the games are always in Denver.
That seems to be that way.
They're in hand and they're at home.
So it's a compliment to how this team is landing right now. I've got too much Olympics still on me, so I'm thinking in terms of landing, as in, nailing the landing, as in skating, figure skating, or I guess in some ski jumping events as well. It would be, I think, nice and helpful to not have the pro component of this be the afterthought. I get it. We draw well. The franchise is healthy. We understand all of that. But is it not fair to say that in the state of hockey, the pro side of it has not held up its end of the bargain? It just hasn't. And I'll continue to say, until it does, we can't really, in good faith, call ourselves the state of hockey. Because the state of hockey, to me, has to be good to great at all 3 levels. And by the way, right now we're not very good at the college level either, but that's allegedly a blip on the radar screen. We'll see. They certainly have had some great moments. We know that. In their history, and even more recently. This season, not so much. High school speaks for itself. One of the things I've said about that I believe has damaged our credibility as a hockey brand when it comes to the pro side is occasionally names would come up that might be available via trade or free agency, right? Where the player had the option, right? Might have a no trade clause that he can waive, or might be, sure, okay, there's certain teams I'll go to and certain teams I won't. And I always felt we were incredibly naive and delusional in this market to think that everybody wants to come here. Everybody that has options wants to come here. It made no sense because we hadn't done anything. We weren't credible as a National Hockey League contender to make that assumption. Oh, he'll have to come. Who doesn't want to come to Minnesota? Well, if you want to win for a long time, you'd say, I'm not so sure, because they really haven't done much winning. No playoff series victories in 10 years. I think over the last 10 years, we're 0-7. We've had 7 playoff runs with obviously no success. So then I pick up The Athletic, And what do I see? Or what do I read? Your guy, Steven Stamkos. Here's the nugget from the Athletics' Pierre LeBrun.
Pretty plugged in.
Stamkos has the Wild. Repeat. Stamkos has the Wild on his short list of teams that he'd be open to getting traded to. The others, the Dallas Stars and the Tampa Bay Lightning, his old team, where he was the longtime face of the franchise. Now, fairness and savagery, or fairness in this case and puffery, he's denying it. Stamkos has already denied it, said, I haven't talked to anybody, including my general manager, about any of this stuff, so I don't know where this is going. Now, again, take that for what it might be worth. But this is an example of how you become the state of hockey. You play well enough, maybe you add a piece like Minnesota, and the existing pieces you have seem to be maturing and growing in key places on the team. And suddenly, I think it's not crazy to think that he might be interested in coming here. So what's changed? Well, it has to be a belief that something is percolating here. There's at least the possibility of this thing going someplace. Long way from here to there. We haven't won a single playoff game, yet a playoff series or a series of series. But now it's not so funny. What I used to chuckle at, I don't think necessarily I can chuckle at anymore. I think it is more likely that enough has happened that there would be some players who'd say, yeah, I'd consider that. I'd put that in the mix. I saw what Minnesota did at the Olympics.
He seems to like it there.
Whatever the case may be, he seems to like it there, etc. So all of this is meant as a bouquet to the Minnesota Wild. But I think there are too many hockey people in this town who haven't been honest about this aspect of the state of hockey, and they are it doesn't matter. We eat, sleep, drink it as a mindset since we're born. That's great. That's great. But you have to be on the map on the professional side. Because is that still, I mean, you can do the research for me, but is that still not the highest level of hockey?
It is. Especially here. Yeah, it's one of the voids.
I mean, isn't that like, again, we love the high school story. We love the state tournament. We like our Gophers when it's going a little better than it is right now, and that's pretty high level with college hockey. But the pros are the pros. That's the highest level. We have to be represented in it. So maybe we're seeing signs that we are headed in to potentially that direction. Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line is open at 64686 because I think it's time. It's needed if we really want to, with a straight face, hold on to the state of hockey. Hasn't it gotten tiresome to say, man, they keep selling it out at the X. I don't know how they do it. And I'm proud of that, but we haven't really done much. Wouldn't it be nice to not have to say that anymore and to say those fans, those loyal fans who've hung in,
team of 18,000,
exactly, are going to be rewarded? Not with just entertaining hockey. I'm not saying a lot of the hockey that the Wild have played in recent years isn't entertaining, but do you really just want to have to use as your calling card, we sell out, we're always there, the atmosphere there's great, arena needs a little bit of updating, but it's still awfully good, been a great run there. Is that really enough for you? What is wrong with winning? Close circuit to Craig Kilborn if he happens to be podcasting the show today. We're overdue to have him on. Maybe next week.
Think it'd be great.
We reintroduce him to the Minnesota Timberwolves conversation and any other conversation he might want to get involved with. JG should threaten to attack Greenland if he is not nominated for the Minnesota State High School League Hall of Fame.
What do you mean?
Dan, I was also state champion, you got to set multiple records with multiple events in one state meet in track in 1973, apparently, in this case.
Okay.
Does attending 6 or 7 colleges disqualify you from the Minnesota High School League Hall of Fame? I don't think it should.
It disqualifies me from those other colleges.
Exactly. It came after. It has nothing to do with what you did in high school. Where does JG rank in the Edina? Is there an Edina Ring of Honor?
Yeah.
Are you in that?
Yeah.
Oh, you are in that?
Yeah.
Oh, did I know that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a while ago.
Was that a while ago? Was it a big emotional? Did you have to give a speech or anything?
I did.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, that's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah, that was...
It's a good reminder.
Yeah, probably 10 years ago.
It was a great run for Guardsy. What a great school. What a great run. What a racket.
What kind of legacy will I leave?
Wow, Guardsy, this is from Larry Mondello guy, went from I didn't do enough to get into the High School Hall of Fame to maybe I should be in the Hall of Fame in about 3 seconds.
Yeah, that's about as long as my humility lasts.
Good work pumping up the disenfranchised cake eater to start the show.
Yeah, I was due.
Maybe Blyleven can chair the Guardsy committee. He's quite a persistent lobbyist. That's true. Remember that?
I do. And he got in eventually.
He did. As a Michigander, or is it Michigander? Is that how it's pronounced? Michigander. I was surprised to learn Minnesota calls itself the state of hockey. When I moved here, I would have put that nickname on Michigan because of the Red Wings. Huh. This is an interesting conversation, writes Dr. Phil. The mental health counselor in our office is a big Michigan guy, and he claims also that the state of Michigan is a state of hockey. He also backs that up by the success of the Detroit Red Wings. Interesting way to look at it. What would be the other hotbed? Would be Massachusetts?
Massachusetts, yeah. We're kind of the 3, I think.
Avalanche had state of hockey up on the boards in Colorado last night. Is that true? Do they, as in they claim they're the state of hockey?
What I would assume is...
Or is that stuff that's superimposed for our purposes?
That's what I would assume.
Yeah.
Yes. It trips me up every once in a while as well, but I would assume all of that stuff was superimposed on the FanDuel broadcast.
What time did we start? 3:02?
Yeah.
So it took 16 minutes for this one to come in. Totally get what you're saying about the Wild, but we are more than that when it comes to the state of hockey.
We are, Dan. As a hockey dad, I can attest.
Players in the NHL, our awesome high school tourney, and how the whole state has great teams.
I was at a section final last night. It was packed. Ritter Arena. Minnetonka versus Chaney.
I asked for this not to be texted because I said exactly that in the front end. What I continue to believe is you're kidding yourself if you don't think the professional component is massive and that we have flunked in that area. We have. We just have. It doesn't matter how many of players from the state have excelled in the NHL. It's about your team. That's got to be part of the state of hockey. And, as I said, I meant all this as a compliment because it feels like we might have a pro team ready to assume the mantle, to sort of continue the tradition that has been established and maintained so long at the high school and the professional level.
Whalen's in the High School Hall of Fame. Maybe she could get me in. She went in 2 years ago.
She did?
Yeah. No state tournaments for her, though.
Do we have a number on how many people are in there total in all?
I could count them up.
It'll probably take a while.
Yeah.
But it's a large number, you'd say? Are we in the hundreds or in the thousands?
Hundreds.
Hundreds.
Yeah. They started in 1991.
Unpopular anti-high school hockey take here. High schools are continuously robbed of their best talent by junior hockey in private schools. The product at the state hockey tournament has always been a false representation of the cities and communities on their uniforms. I know this isn't the only Minnesota high school sport with that issue, but hockey is the biggest offender.
Oh, you mean recruiting and stuff?
So that and just saying robbed by junior hockey and in private schools.
Yeah.
That's from Christian in Rosemont.
There's a lot of that.
Huh. NHL this year, at least one game played at the NHL level. Minnesota, 47 players. Michigan, 37. Wisconsin, 8.
State of hockey.
Massachusetts, 29. Therefore, Minnesota is a state of hockey.
Box. Enough said.
But you should also be intelligent enough to realize USA hockey has succeeded, and hockey is getting better everywhere. It has influence, hence the gold medal. And why are you seemingly disregarding women's hockey because your argument clearly loses all water there, or are you now a Trumper?
Those are the only two options.
God bless the Frost.
Yeah.
God bless the Frost. I would never, ever disparage what they've done. Hell, when it comes to Minnesota Lynx basketball, in part because they've been around longer, nobody covers more Lynx stuff than we do, year after year. But let's be real. Minnesota Frost have been around for a minute, and they've done great. No arguing with that. But part of being the state of hockey has to be that the professional hockey team that's been here for a while now, preceded by another professional hockey team that left. Remember, think about that. In the state of hockey, and you can be mad at Norm Green all you want, but in the state of hockey, it happened. In the state of hockey, a professional team left, departed, and then went someplace else to get a cup. So that has to be, regardless of whether the Frost existed or not, or excelled or not, has to absolutely be part of, I would say, said conversation. Gus Bus throws it up. State of hockey looking up. Kevin Fulness eats it up. Wild and 5. It's the first one of the wild ones we have.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Tell Michigan to count their PWHL championships.
We're 2 for 2.
Wow. Okay. We are. But state of hockey is supposed to be part of history that goes back a little further than that, right? Thought. Oldsmobile guy writes, my sources say Sarah Spain is willing to fly in for Guardsy's High School Hall of Fame induction speech. It's a great callback. Yeah, somebody noticed this. I didn't even see this text. We are the state of hockey, yet we couldn't keep the North Stars. Yeah. Michigan has way more NCAA titles with multiple schools, and Michigan itself being second. Huh.
They have the national team program, too. The development program right there in Ann Arbor.
That's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, now you're starting to make the argument for someplace else. So Detroit calls itself Hockey Town.
Hockey Town, yep.
Hockey Town.
Yep.
Is that right?
Exactly.
When's the last time the Red Wings won anything? It's almost like suggesting the Gophers make us the state of hockey because they haven't won championships in over 20 years. Minnesota Roof, living in Michigan. Minnesota original state of hockey. Michigan can have their hockey town. We need to prove it, though. Skoll Dude in Michigan. So this is somebody, I think the Roof, this was dictated. So this is a Minnesotan, I think, now living in Michigan. I think the texter could be referring to the guy behind our bench who's holding up a wild/state of hockey flag.
Oh.
Is that true?
I don't know. Could be. There were a ton of Wild fans in Denver last night. There always are. There were a ton of Wolves fans in L.A. last night. I love it. I love it. Smoke them if you got them. If you're a transplant, if you're traveling, I loved going into the other buildings. It was awesome for both last night.
It's terrific. Yeah, there's no question about that. It was outstanding. Can you hit the breaking news sounder? This score just in from spring training. Twins 5, Yankees 17. I'll take him at his word that that's accurate. Split squad? Can we excuse it with a split squad situation?
We know it's not good baseball.
It's only the preseason, correct?
That's what they say.
I mean, the games don't count yet, right?
They don't.
Sadly, they probably won't count in April either. Bottom of the hour break. When we come back, we come to find out, and who knew this was true? Sometimes context matters. We'll explain that.
It is a massive matchup in the Western Conference. This Sunday, as the Wolves take on the Denver Nuggets, tip-off is just after 2:30 p.m. You can catch every shot, every dunk, every jaw-dropping play all season on the Timberwolves iHeartRadio channel.
Looks like I'm looking at the Twins box score from today. We did get edged by the Yankees 17-5. We have yet to win a home game in spring training. We're 0-4 at home. We're 2-6 overall. Raya went a third of an inning, gave up 4 runs. Sands gave up 3 earned runs. Brito gave up 6 earned runs, and somebody named Bischoff gave up 2. So we allowed 16 earned runs on 13 hits and walked 10. So we thought pitching was going to be the strength of the club, but we've lost now a couple of starters who are going to be in the rotation, and we're looking at a brand new sort of mix and match starting rotation already. Bumper to Bumper is the name of the program. Ben Gessling will join at 4:30, and Lavelle is scheduled for 5:30 today. I missed it last night, but my sources say that, speaking of viral moments, there was much chatter locally and nationally after an exchange of words. Well, it was really more, I think, Anthony Edwards at this particular point, after he hit a ridiculous shot that helped seal the deal for the Wolves last night against the, shall we say, depleted Clippers. I know we're not supposed to talk about depletions, except we're the team that's depleted, but the Clippers were depleted last night. And it looked like Edwards kind of got in Finchie's face, and earlier it sounds like Finchie had said, pass the ball, and then there was discussion about it in the locker room after. And it's juicy, right? Because it's a superstar player and a head coach, and you're looking for stuff because it's a long season, even though it's starting to shorten up.
You don't want me to pass the ball. You want me to shoot it.
That's it. Because I think the rest of the quote was...
Looks like you were showing some emotion down the stretch here as well. When you hit that 3, looked like it said, that's what I do. Yeah. Why?
I mean, because the play before, Finchie, when I took the mid-range over 2, he was like, pass the ball. And, I just told him, like, you don't want me to pass the ball. You want me to shoot it.
Well, they're both right, actually, in an odd sort of way.
Yeah, it's a weird situation.
But what fascinates me about the story is I'm looking at a piece put together by Chris Hine, who covers the team, and, of course, has a book out about Anthony Edwards. I think it's called Ant.
Yes, very appropriately titled.
Appropriately titled, for sure. And he lays out the relationship, how it has played out over the years. We often hear, he wrote, this is Hine writing, Edwards talk about how Finch can be hard on Edwards, that he's demanding of him. And wherever Edwards does, it's always away from the heat of that exchange with Finch in a practice game or film session, and Edwards does nothing but praise Finch, I should say. The thing is, those initial moments are rarely caught on camera the way it was Thursday when Edwards appeared to have a few words for Finchie. Edwards said after, with a smile on his face, that Finch had wanted him to pass. You just heard the soundbite after shooting a tough mid-range shot. Finchie said he didn't say that, by the way. But fans are dissecting the interaction to say there might be an issue between Finch and Edwards. Before you come to that conclusion, allow for some context. And I read that sentence and I stopped. I said, are you trying to tell me that a viral moment captured might not always tell the whole story? That context might matter? That if you care about pursuing accuracy or the truth or getting closer to it, because we can get pretty philosophical about what is truth and whose truth is yours and mine, etc. But it would seem to indicate that if you really want to get a handle on what might be going on between Edwards and Finchie, you might want to allow for some context beyond that viral moment. And he lays out some quotes from the book that he got from Mike Conley, Naz Reid. And he writes, I get the sense that Finch and Edwards have more heated moments with each other than fans typically see. There's a quote from Conley to that effect. Hines recounting, Hines is the assistant coach who works most closely with Edwards. Recounting a game in which Edwards got on a hot streak, taking a bunch of bad shots. Finch making sure Edwards heard about his terrible shot selection. After another make, Hines said Edwards turned around, patted Finch on the butt, and kept moving. I'm in the middle, like I'm always the string holding it together, Hines said, or I'm pushing away like y'all need to back up, give each other space. Let me handle that, Finchie. I got him. I get to see this tug of war, and it's the funniest tug of war that I've ever seen. There's more quotes from Conley. So the moral of the story from Hine is, his mind goes back to these stories and these quotes after Edwards' reaction. And so to come away from what you saw in the viral moment, perhaps believing that there's a schism here, there's a problem here. He's saying, well, you can't ever rule that out because things can escalate, but that if you get beyond the viral moment and you find out about the relationship, you find out how they've dealt with each other over a period of time, you might get closer to the truth. And it might not be as dangerous as it looks at a moment like that. I was gobsmacked to find out that, as I said, a viral moment, whether it be what Ant had to say to Finchie, or how nervously or enthusiastically the members of the U.S. men's hockey team laughed or chuckled at the misogynist joke from Donald J. Trump, that there could be more to it. There could be context. Eye-opening. The question is whether anybody will actually believe it, or more importantly, will they be willing? Do they want to believe it? Because what often happens in these situations is you make a decision on what a viral moment represents, and you're locked in. Because there's a bad guy, and there's often allegedly a good guy. Or maybe in some cases they're all bad guys. But you've made the decision. Aha, I got it. Nailed. And then you find out from people who do the actual reporting, whether it be Hine regarding Anthony Edwards and Finchie, or Russo Radio and a few others showing up to chat with members of the U.S. women's Olympic hockey team. And you find out that at the very least, even if there was understandable, in cases of a couple players, anger about the exchange or about the reaction from some of the U.S. men's players, that the truth is not quite as stark regarding how those players feel about the members of the men's team, or most of the members of the men's team. There's a good message there somewhere, I think, but like I said, once you decide to lock into a position that you think espouses the position that you've had forever, and by the way, forever, I mean 30 seconds after seeing the viral piece of audio or video, you don't have time for that. Because that gets in the way of how you want to think of it. That gets in the way of you pounding your fist about what this represents and what must be done about it. Who is the player, I can't remember who, plays for one of the Canadian teams, who got, I'm not making this up, got criticized for staying in Florida and partying with the team rather than getting back to where he needs to be for a team that was struggling to even get into the playoffs. See, those are individuals who made their decision on the basis of that viral moment. And they're only interested in context when it allows them to advance their point of view on the story. Otherwise, we don't need it. We saw everything we needed to see. We heard the laughter. That's all we need to know. And I would say the same. The stories are apples and oranges because they're involving different things, but it's the same in a sense. Because I don't think Hein is saying, and by the way, sometimes, what's the cliche? If it walks like a duck,
talks like
a duck, and quacks like a duck, it's a duck.
It's a duck.
And sometimes it's a duck. The viral moment holds up. No question. But I dare say Hein's got it right regarding the significance of whatever that exchange was. Now, is it worth watching? Can it escalate? Yes. I'm going to think he probably got it right. I think Russo got it right. And other reporters who said, well, okay, I'm giving everybody a chance to talk about this, and this is what I'm hearing, which would seem to indicate that even if there was some definite discomfort, that if you care about context, the true proof of how these sorts of relationships are set up and what people think of one another generally aren't about a single moment like that. By the way, when you're on the receiving end, it's not what you're saying, because Trump said it, but how you're reacting, that there's all sorts of evidence to indicate that actually there was a great deal of mutual respect over a period of time that was shown. That's context. But these are both, I think, good examples, one local, one international, where we are reminded that for too many people, like I said, who are dug in on what they decide and what they feel like they have to believe regarding a given story, that there's no room in that world for gray. There's no room for any kind of context, which I thought was rather interesting.
You want more context from Finchy today on your guy Colin Cowherd's show? Because they're in L.A.
Oh, okay.
And Finchy usually stops by the Herd.
Was he wearing a suit?
I didn't watch it.
Okay.
I didn't watch it, but I have seen some clips, and I'm going to try to find the audio for the top 5. Finchy, by the way, not good enough to make the Herd social media, video clips. Finchy's kind of like the bumper-to-bumper of KFAN Twitter videos. Not good enough to make the clips or the feed. Because they got Byron Scott, they got Rachel Nichols from today.
Yeah, of course.
They don't have Finchy yet.
So it's not enough to make the conference finals 2 years in a row?
Not when you're in Minnesota.
Yeah, you're probably right.
But here's what he had to say. Listen, we're both fiery competitors. It's part of our relationship since day one. We have a phenomenally talented player who makes great shots. He's a closer, and he's taken major strides in that department, and we're lucky to have him. This is not the first game-winning shot that he's made for us this season, but he also has the burden of responsibility of making his teammates better and making the right play, and that's what we're preaching to him all the time. He's really emotional. I'm emotional. We say these things to each other, and we move on. We don't take it personally. I didn't think the comments after the game were mean-spirited. I thought he was just kind of joking around. We just jab back and forth with each other. These guys are super competitive, and they're very prideful. Sometimes you got to stoke that fire, and sometimes it comes back on you, but that's part of it.
He could be just saying that. Damage control. And it also could be true. Right? I mean, how many times, again, I heard just within the last, would it have been after the Blazers game? No, I don't think so. But a game just within the last week or two where, I'm paraphrasing, but the quote was basically from Ant saying, Chris Finch is by far the best thing that's ever happened to me in terms of coaching. Now, again, is he just saying that? Maybe he is, but I'm not here to say there can't be, challenges, that there can't be warning signs, right? There can't be signals that, all right, behind the playfulness, what is there? But here's the example. Here's the analogy. Somebody wrote about this today. And this goes back to the old quote about walk like a duck, talk like a duck, quack like a duck. You can also sometimes be fairly sure when it's not a duck. Example, do you remember that speaking of viral moments, when Kirk Cousins leads the Vikings to victory?
Yes, they do.
Goes over to the sidelines, does one of the old, you like that, and then shoves Mike Zimmer.
Yeah, they're pushing each other.
And then Zimmer shoves him back. I think that was the sequence.
Yes.
Now, that could be explained away. Well, out of context, that looks worse than it is.
That was a flock of ducks, though.
In that case, there was an entire. Is it a gaggle of geese?
I like gaggle.
Whatever it is, it was like no. That told us that was because there was no better relationship than that. As we learned after the fact, it was not a particularly harmonious or productive relationship. So there are times where the viral moment can hold up, but there are times when it doesn't begin to tell the story. But again, I'll say, we don't care about that once we've dug our feet in and planted our flag about whatever we're pissed off about. I said this, I think, yesterday. We talked about this on Enough Said tonight on Fox 9, 9:30. We're competing against each other. We're on Fox 9 and on Fox 9 Plus.
You can't miss us tonight
at 9:30 tonight. You can't get away from us. It's the same, and I think Russo and I talked about this yesterday. For the people dug in, they have dismissed what most of the women players on the U.S. Olympic hockey team have said regarding this dust-up. Oh, they're just being nice. Classy of them to take the high road. Of course, eliminating the possibility that we should take them at their word, that they're saying what they believe. Because I think it's rather patronizing to sort of dismiss it as, well, that's what they're trying to do, is be nice. What if they're telling us what they believe? I don't think they're afraid to speak up, nor should they be. But if you're dug in, you're back. The viral moment is great, man. Now, if you're opposed to the viral moment, it's, well, what else is going on around that? Let's try to be fair and get a little context to that particular story. We're too far down the road on so many things, but on this whole issue about the hockey story and the controversy afterwards, people are so far down the road, they are so dug in, whatever their position is, there's no turning back. There's not any willingness to say, well, interesting, we did get a little bit more information there. I don't like what I saw. I would have preferred somebody say something more directly. And in fact, as Russo pointed out yesterday, at least one of the players, maybe two, before the stupid joke said, hey, invite him. Before the joke was delivered by Shecky Green.
Saying they were 2 for 2 in goals.
Exactly. That, unfortunately, does not count. Well, I like this quote if it's accurate. Paul Simon in The Boxer. People believe what they want to believe and they disregard the rest. That's very well said.
It's another way of saying they hear what they want to hear.
Very, very well said. 100% well said. What time we got? Well, you know what? Maybe I'll save this. We've got Gessling is for 4:30. Lavelle is at 5:30. I promised to get into, speaking of controversy and controversial relationships and what's going on between a player and a coach or a player and a team. I want to save that maybe for the top of the hour because it involves a former Minnesota Timberwolves player, and I think it's quite interesting. 507 guy writes, do you actually talk about sports or is it all politics now? Well, I appreciate you joining the show now, but the first 45 minutes of this show were about the Minnesota Wild maybe being ready to take the step to truly nurture the notion that we are the state of hockey. Coming out of the break with a terrific victory on the road against the Lanch. Perhaps you missed it. That was the first 45 minutes of today's program. I think that's sports related. But perhaps you were busy, which is fine. I would suggest after the show, go back and podcast it. And perhaps you'll then be reassured that we are indeed quite capable of mixing in plenty and plenty of sports, as we did during the entire Winter Olympics. But I had no intention. If it was up to me, we wouldn't have gone as deep into the political angle regarding this story. But that's what other people have forced upon us. So therefore, we're left with two choices. We can ignore it, which is a choice. Say, I'm not going to mess with it. There's no there there. There's not enough there there. Or to push back a little bit. And in this case, as I said, half of this discussion had nothing to do with politics. Even the last 10 minutes had to do with Anthony Edwards and whether there's any reason to be concerned the way some people are nationally regarding the comments that Anthony Edwards made to the head coach. That also is sports because that involves the current condition of your Minnesota Timberwolves club as well. Let's pause for the top of the hour break, and we'll get back to the other story that is worth a minute or two. I do have a couple of A-section stories, though I do want to include. And what was the other big one that I wanted to get to? Well, we'll find out. I'll save it when we have a little bit more time. Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line is open at 64686.